Hello and welcome back to another very short episode of Kerbal Space Program with me, Matthias Weiss. And today I want to present you the first thing I built in KSP 02. And this one is a rover. Yeah, I finally managed, as you see, we are on the moon. This is Jebediah. And I finally managed to build a rover and bring it to the moon. But it's not just any rover, so I will pan my camera around. There's the landing site of the first Caterpillar mobile base. And this is actually the thing I'm talking about. This design is inspired by a design I found on the KSP Spacecraft Exchange Forum from Parker Boy, I think it was the name. But I didn't download his craft. I just rebuilt it from scratch and modified it a little bit. He has 2 crew compartments and a rover bay in the back, and I have just 3 crew compartments, and of course this nice new cockpit. I have this version in. I have this craft in 2 versions. Sorry, one with MacJab 2 attached, which I'm actually using here, and I also have it available as a pure stock craft for our purists. So as you see, this is deployed in base mode at the moment, as you can see, with the lander legs extended. And yeah, let's take a closer look at what we have here. Jebediah, show us our lights. So let's take a look at. We have these new rover wheels here, which come as new stock parts, and they are attached to these large steel beams. The only connection to the main craft is here, well, directly underneath with this beam. And to keep it from wobbling, etc., and breaking apart, I have, of course, some struts here to keep it all in place, and it makes a pretty good suspension. So yeah, without further ado, let's board this monster. The total mass of this thing is 16.04 tons. It was a really pain to develop a lander which is capable to bring it to the moon. I didn't cheat it here, and it was a stock lander, so no modded parts. So let's get inside, and before we start moving, let's retract the ladder here. And a few last comments. We have some of the normal solar panels here, and these big solar panels here, a communications array, of course lighting, and these antennas, which are just added to look cool. Yeah, the SAS module here is basically a placeholder, because I needed something, or at first I just designed it as a placeholder. I needed something to put my letters on, etc. But in the end it turned out that this thing actually works pretty well to keep the thing going a straight way without falling over all the time. So let's do all the stuff we do now in the IVA mode. I really love this cockpit. So the first thing we do is I use speed control with MacJab. You can do it all stock, no problem. I have the download as a stock craft too. But I use the speed control from MacJab to keep us at 0 for the moment. And first thing we have to do is retract our lander legs. So now we are back in drive mode. And as you see here, we already have SAS turned on. The little green light is on. And we are heading north, to the North Pole. But the first thing I turn it off to show you the basics. This thing has it is very heavy and it has a very low center of weight, so it tends to fall over if you drive too fast and go into sharp turns. So as you see here in the bottom left corner with the blue indicators, I'm using the precision mode for steering. And okay, so let's start. Release the brakes. And I started with 2 meters per second, so because at 2 meters per second it's absolutely safe to just turn this thing and you can drive it like nothing can happen. 2 meters per second is absolutely fine. You can drive a little faster if you want, but for sharp turns like this I normally use 2 meters per second as a setting. But the real cool thing about this rover is that it's absolutely stable while driving at high speeds. And high speeds for me on the moon is 20 meters per second. So what we will do next is we center it back to the North Line, because ultimately I want to go with this thing to the North Pole. I started at the equator and just got 20 kilometers done until I started this video. But yeah, center it on North. Hit SAS, so it keeps the track, and let's just increase the speed. Let's start with 8 meters per second. The acceleration is quite fast. Let's go directly to 15 meters per second. You see, 50 meters is no problem at all. But we want to go really fast, so 20 meters it is. This takes some time, and even though it looks pretty cool from the inside, this actually looks even cooler from the outside, because you can see all the suspension working, etc. So let's take a look at the outer view. Yeah, there you see it. Really, really nice. Yeah, the suspension is working perfectly. And the good thing with SAS is every time this thing loses contact to the ground, like now, nice air time. The good thing with SAS is it tries to keep it horizontal, so it uses the torque of the capsule to keep it stable and on track without flipping the whole thing over. We have really a good deal of battery power, so and these panels, unfortunately the sun is coming directly from the side, so they can't really turn into that direction, so the sun exposure is very limited, but they produce a very good amount of okay, that's why I added these panels, I think. No, actually I added these only because I thought it looks cool. But it works. It has, no matter how low the sun is, it has always enough sunlight to keep driving indefinitely. And yeah, I really like this craft, and it comes with a it looks like, oh, that's beautiful. It comes with a lander, not with a lander, with a, yeah, actually with a landing craft attached to, you can bring it into orbit, bring it to the moon and land it in one turn. And the spacecraft, which I have for this craft, actually has one of the new large docking ports on the top, so you can add whatever you want, an even bigger spacecraft, and bring it to any planet you want. So that's basically everything we wanted to show now. But the thing is, if you're driving at a speed of 20 meters per second, you can't just hit 0 meters per second or just hit the brakes, because it would flip over. Braking is actually quite a tough job in this thing, because you have to gradually reduce your speed. So normally from 20 meters per second, I take it to 15 meters per second, and you see it is much slower in braking than in accelerating. From 15 I go to 10 meters, and from 10 meters you can be a little bit more aggressive. You can directly go to 5 meters, for example. And then to 2 meters. And once you are at 2 meters, just hit 0, it brakes. You can deploy the lander legs, which you can actually see from inside the capsule, which is pretty nice. And you're back in base mode. So that's it for today. My name is Matthias Weiss. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this new spacecraft.